What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an awesome day today from an undisclosed secret location. If anyone can guess where I am, no, I don't know. I don't have anything to give you guys. But that being said, it is very early, so this is a little bit, of a different type of video. But Michael J. Burry, you might be familiar with him from the Big Short movie. He was the one that accurately called the 2008 financial crisis. He actually pointed to a similarity in a cryptic tweet where he simply says, maybe, referring to the similarities between the 2001 markets and the current markets right now. We are in fact hitting that downward sloping trend. So, I think he's kind of hinting at maybe the markets are over bought right now and that this is just a giant fake out. But outside of just the doom and gloom, and by the way, if you guys want to check this out, we'll come over here. It's a really nice view over here. Yeah, just to kind of put a cool background while we're talking, you can see over there, you can't really see the buildings, but there is a town over there. But regardless of what Bitcoin does in the short term, I think it's extremely important to talk about the broader, bigger picture. And that's exactly what we have in this video with the Debate Crypto guys. We actually talked on their channel a few weeks ago, but we wanted to have a follow-up, sort of a 2.0 to the discussion. So we don't only just go into the price action, the TA, and the conspiracies, but also the bigger picture of why Bitcoin. And I think you guys are going to really enjoy this. And if you're having any doubts about Bitcoin in general, maybe you bought in recently and you're still down on your initial investment, I think that this video could help to clarify a lot of that situation for you. So make sure you get subscribed, check it out. And without further ado, let's dive into the video. All right, guys. So thank you so much for coming on the channel. As everybody knows, I recently was on your channel, the Debate Crypto guys, which I highly suggest when you guys are done, you check the links below, go follow them. Amazing, amazing dudes. So this is more of a follow-up to the conversation we were having earlier, because it's not just about the Bitcoin pump and the TA and everything going on right now, but there's a huge macro factor that's at play. And these two individuals know a lot about it. In fact, if you guys want to kind of, take over from here, the background that you guys have is really not actually crypto related. And it's one of those things where it's interesting that you would find yourself in the crypto space based on your background. So can you guys just kind of like bring us up to speed on that?
Yeah, sure. So Crypto Keeper, Blockchain Crusader, obviously down below. Appreciate you having us on, brother. It's really good to see you. As always, when we catch you out at the events, we always have fun. So it's good to be on the show. So thanks for having us. Yeah, I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, like I was in the Marine Corps and Crusader was into prepping, and he started talking to me one day, and he's like, why are we really into Bitcoin? And we started to kind of rap back and forth. And we started talking about the prepping side. We're like, well, wait a minute. Like, we don't believe that the dollar is going to survive for too terribly much longer. And this was on TikTok, right? Because we met on TikTok. And as the conversation like continued, it spilled into like the prepping narrative. We're like, well, we're preparing, physically in our homes with food and water and just, trying to be up to, basically if something were to happen, we felt like we have a responsibility to our families. And that's what Bitcoin was for us originally. And we didn't really tie them together until Crusader started to talk to me about it. Crusader, I'll let you take over from there. But I love the fact of how well they tie together with the world that we live in today, because it's getting wild out there for sure.
Yeah, dude, 100%. And like, Zombie, appreciate you bringing us on the show, man. But yeah, the whole Bitcoin thing and prepping kind of goes hand in hand, even though it sounds kind of weird and it seems kind of awkward, because everyone that's a crypto investor, whether you're holding Bitcoin or some type of other asset, right, you are betting that the dollar is going down. So you're getting another asset that's going to increase in value in longer term. So you're preparing financially for the collapse of the dollar. And that's what I kind of noticed when I first read the Bitcoin Standard, which is what got me into crypto, got me getting into Bitcoin, right? Super amazing book.
Great book.
Nobody's read that book.
Absolutely.
You got to read it. That makes you understand full cycle how Bitcoin works, what is money, and why it is a tool if you're into the prepared space, and why you should be taking advantage of it.
It's one of those things where when you fall down the rabbit hole of it, like what got me interested initially was the price. Obviously, I saw the price pump. I was like, oh, this is cool. I like this. I like making money. But then you start to realize, you see the inflation, you see the printing of dollars, you see the quantitative tightening, easing, whatever they want to do. Like somebody said, the only reason that they're raising rates right now is so they have something to cut when what hits the fan, right? I mean, that's the only tool they have.
100%.
And there's no verification of nobody knows how many dollars are in circulation. I mean, even when it comes down to gold, nobody really knows how much gold there is, right? Maybe Elon Musk starts mining some on an asteroid. There's tons at the bottom of the ocean, but Bitcoin is definitive. We know it's 21 million. We understand, the hardest asset on planet Earth. And, like once you read that book, you go down that rabbit hole. So I wanted to bring you guys on to talk about, we do a lot of TA on this channel, but, the macro environment right now, it's something that we've never actually seen Bitcoin in, right? So Bitcoin was basically birthed out of the 2008 financial crisis, and it's only ever seen an up-only environment, right? And right now we are still seeing a lot of that sort of similarities between stocks and Bitcoin, right? Stocks move up, Bitcoin moves up, and it seems like they're kind of tied together right now. But over time, you guys think that it will ultimately, decouple and separate, and Bitcoin will, end up potentially being the reserve world currency. So I wanted you guys to kind of talk about what you're seeing right now in the macro. Are you calling the Fed's bluff? Do you think that they're serious this time? Is this time actually different? Because we've been hearing dollar collapse for, years and years. What do you think is really going to be the ultimate outcome of this?
So we're debate crypto, right? And so Crusader and I disagree on a number of things. We agree on a lot of things. This is probably one of those things that we've definitely been back and forth on. I continue to talk about for probably a year now that the Fed was moving us towards effectively deflation. And the problem with that was to get to that point, you have stagflation in between where just literally people are saying, hey, my money's going to be worth more 6 months from now. I'm not buying that car right now. I'm not buying that house right now. I'm not buying this. I'm not buying that. And if you know anything about money, especially how money works in the debt system that we live in, it works on velocity. Money needs to continue to move. And so I have been of the mindset that they were going to basically continue pushing us that direction. Crusader has been on the opposite side saying, wait a minute, bro, they have no choice but to continue to print. I have been thinking that, hey, they've got to pump the brakes on this because they are going to inevitably crush their own dollar. So Crusader, go ahead and tell the people this wild thought that you got about them continuing to print.
Like they can't, right? We are on a roller coaster ride on the way down, and there is no way to recover. There is no way of, putting the brakes on this. The dollar is collapsing. All they can manage is how slow the collapse can happen, right? A controlled collapse. But, if you look at the history of every currency in the entire history of mankind, every currency has fallen, and it all comes down to the same thing. Money manipulation, right? Printing, non-printing, and that manipulation destroys the currency. You can read that in the Bitcoin standard, like we mentioned earlier. So that being said, the whole deflation thing and the dollar getting stronger, yeah, you might see that in short periods of time, but there is just so much happening right now. I mean, we're talking about the debt ceiling being raised, right? The government, like there is no other option. They make it seem like it's an illusion. There's a choice that, hey, yeah, we could not raise the debt ceiling, but that's not true. They don't have another option but continue printing because, like you mentioned, velocity of money, right? They need money to keep moving. And where are they going to get it from? They need to just print more of it some way, somehow, whether they call it printing or they call it something else. That's the only way they get money keep moving, because when it's time to pay debts, they don't got the money.
Zombie, we talked about this the other day, bro, and I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but there are some supposed solutions that we talked about the other day on the show, and if you guys should check that out. I think it was like on Wednesday a couple days ago. But at any event, one of the solutions, bro, and you can't make this up. One of the solutions is that they are to print a quote platinum coin that they are able to value at any number they want. Whatever they want. Like this is written like, hey, they have the ability to do this. So this is a solution for them to be able to continue to let money move and take on more debt. So effectively what they're talking about, or what they could do, is print a $2 trillion coin that is not tied to bonds and treasuries, and then just say, okay, well, we're going to start stacking debt on this. So from the standpoint of like, is this whole thing, is this whole thing, as Crusader likes to say, fugazi anyway? Yeah, man, we're in a big freaking house of cards. We don't know how much is out there. We have all these wild ideas, and basically it's just a manipulative way to look as if things are okay. They're not, man. And Bitcoin is one of those solutions to our problem moving forward. The problem that you run into is power and control. And I just have a really hard time believing long term, as much as I would love to see Bitcoin be the world reserve currency, I can't see a place in which the governments of this world give a decentralized asset, as much as I love it, the power of a world reserve currency, because it would be good for the people. They don't care about the people. They care about what they can do, how much they can control you, how they can continue to manipulate things for them and their cronies to be able to continue to press themselves and their families upward. They don't care about you.
So what do you think? What do you think the ultimate solution is then? Because you hear on one hand, maybe we'll have a 1984 situation with the CBDCs, and we don't like what you're doing, so we cut your wallet off. Or how about you get so many carbon credits? Oh, you've been on an airplane too many times this month, right? More control. And another thing just to throw out there is right now, right? So the world is huge, right? The economy of the global, it's insane. You look at the M2 supply and all that, but just having a look at how much the dollar has had so much power, especially even just with Bitcoin. I mean, right now you're not seeing Japan do it. You're not seeing these other places do it. But over here, we're getting hawkish, and then you're seeing the price fall 70%. But in the meantime, you're seeing the BRICS, right? Those nations, they're getting to the point where they're saying, you know what? Fine, keep pumping the dollar. You want to devalue this? We won't even use it. We'll just start our own basket of currencies, right? And in a scenario where we're having, because there's more of them than there is us when you really think about it. And then where does that place Bitcoin? Ultimately, does that kind of leave it in the middle, or does it put them in a position where maybe they're looking at it like, hey, maybe we should start stacking? I don't know, because you had a bit of a little conspiracy potentially also about this Bitcoin pump, which we could get into in a minute. So, but two different topics. Take it wherever you want to go.
I think they're trying to stack, dude. I think they're trying to stack, right? Like the U.S. does hold a large amount of Bitcoin, and so do other countries. And more Bitcoin mining is coming here since the whole China debacle. But I think it's a weird mixed gray area, right, where the countries don't know. They don't want Bitcoin to be the decentralized world reserve currency. But I think if things are played correctly and the right power behind crypto pushes the right direction, we can kind of put them into a corner where they don't have a choice, right? The US dollar collapsing, BRIC nations coming out, and then as a stick to the BRIC nations to make sure that they don't take the world currency, they could push Bitcoin as the proponent, so that way you don't win, but I don't win, so it's a draw, right? Nobody wins, nobody gets that extra power of world reserve currency, and then it just becomes a battle of who stacks more and who has more mining power.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, when you look at it, we as a people could opt out of the dollar. Like the United States, everybody in the United States, let's just start there, could opt out and say, hey, you know what? We're not using the dollar anymore. And if you had enough people, because as it talks about in the Bitcoin standard, and as we've talked about a lot before, value, hey, there's 3 of us on here. If we all agree that coffee has value and we want to start trading coffee, that's kind of that prepper mentality, right? You've got bullets, beans, bourbon, you've got these different things that have value, right? And if enough people agree, hey, Bitcoin is where the value's at, that's what we're going to use, screw the dollar. So that idea right there is challenging a government. That right there is saying, hey, we don't actually need you, and we have a solution. Assuming that, Bitcoin obviously wasn't created in some, way by the CIA.
Well, I mean, even if it was, regardless of that conspiracy, there's been so many audits on the code at this point. Jamie Dimon came out the other day saying, oh, well, what if we get to 21 and then Satoshi's picture pops up and more? It's like, well, I mean, theoretically, but it wouldn't happen. 50, you'd have to 51%, you'd have to, and no one would even do it. Look what happened with Bitcoin SV, Bitcoin Cash. I mean, they tried to do it. They tried to change the block size, and look what happened. What did the people do? The people ultimately chose, no, we're sticking with the real Bitcoin, right? Exactly. And it's tough because the Bitcoin price is speculative. One Bitcoin is always one Bitcoin, will always be one Bitcoin. And it doesn't matter if the world bans Bitcoin, the protocol still does what it does, and we can still interact and use it. Unfortunately, right now, it is a bit of a speculative investment. Now, you have noticed the pump. Now, I'm sure you've seen your views up. I've seen my views up. Everyone's getting excited again. Although there was the very, very interesting situation that had happened. Now, and I'm not talking about Jim Cramer literally saying sell Bitcoin, and the next day it starts pumping. So inverse Cramer, don't, whatever he says, you do the opposite. But you have an even crazier story. And I had actually heard about this as well.
Yeah. So effectively, and again, just to be clear with everyone, this is an idea. I hate the word conspiracy. The word conspiracy was created by the CIA to make people look crazy. And the whole idea behind that was like, if we can put a word, a label on people, then we can create doubt. And there's a lot of validity. You know, I've been called a conspiracy theorist a lot on TikTok, but give it a little bit of time, and all of a sudden I'm now being called, oh yeah, right, correct, because a lot of stuff over the past couple of years
it's hard to go against the grain, right? I mean, when we were down at the bottom and everybody was bearish, and I was the one going against, and I said, hey guys, look, I'm not saying the bear market's over, I'm just saying we are more than due. This is crazy. There's too much bearishness, right? Same thing. You have these ideas, goes against the grain, it's got to be a conspiracy. Right?
Yeah, and this one ties directly in with the government. So if you've been paying any attention, and more than just our government, which is why this gets really weird. If it just happened with one government, I could have been like, okay, I could get on board with maybe this is true, maybe. So there's a system called NOTAM, and it effectively is the FAA's communication system from ground to air, and it went down suspiciously last week. And they grounded all of the flights, like
which hasn't happened since 9/11.
Yeah. So that 9/11 was the last time that happened, right? So boom, they ground all the flights. That is massive. We move like, I think, 1 billion people a year through the United States via air. Like, we need our air travel. So boom, so that happens. They say that it was like a contractor, something in the code happened. There was a file corruption or whatever. Okay.
A glitch in the matrix.
Glitch in the matrix. Yeah. So then boom. The next day, Canada, which, side note, is a different system. It is the same idea, it does the same thing, but that system goes down. And then a day or two after that, I think it was Taiwan goes down. Now, here's the wild part. So you step back. What have a lot of criminals done? And Bitcoin gets a bad rap for this. And I think it's kind of stupid overall, because you can chase and see everything on the blockchain. So it's kind of a stupid idea. But ultimately, over time, we've seen a lot of criminals say, hey, request a ransom effectively for Bitcoin. So the couple days after all of this happening, Bitcoin out of nowhere rips. And so the thought process could be, because our government, Joe Biden's administration, is not going to admit that they got freaking, chopped up by some hacker that got into the FAA system, right? They're not going to admit that. Canada's not going to admit that. Nobody's going to admit that. Is our government buying Bitcoin and paying a ransom right now? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. We get into stuff like that on Debate Crypto. It's just, it's outside the box, but so is Bitcoin.
It is an interesting, and the timing was crazy too, because the ground stop was, I believe it was either on a Wednesday or a Thursday, one of those days. And it was like, literally, that's when you started to see the price. Now, I don't think that the entire move, even if this is true, I think like now what happened was now you get those speculators, people see the price moving and then they start FOMOing in. So, but there is that possibility that that initial pump, that crazy sort of blast off moment, was that. But
I was told that the order flow looked very strange from Magic Internet Money. He told me the order flow looked strange with how, and he's 16 hours a day.
Yeah, and there was I don't have the article, but there was 5 billion that was like anonymously purchased, or they couldn't tie it back to a specific user. It was like a wallet that they didn't know. So that's a possibility. And we had talked about some very interesting whale orders that were very strange how they were being layered. And there were people that were thinking it was the same entity placing multiple orders, which is interesting. Why didn't they do OTC? Well, maybe like you said, maybe because then if you go OTC, well, now we know who you are. Yeah. So maybe, as you said, they didn't want people to know, because they don't want to admit that, they got caught with their pants down.
It's an interesting idea for sure. It's a fun one. I mean, I don't know. It's just an idea.
No, I think that's absolutely crazy. You never really know. But so the other thing too is, when you look at crypto, I think it's one of those, it gets a bad rap because, everybody lumps crypto. It's this big thing, but yeah, 99% of what's out there is garbage. It's a lot of, VCs getting in early, pumping their bags. There's no utility. But one thing which we have not covered as much on the channel, but it is something that I believe is going to be long staying here, is the NFT space, right? I think some of them don't make sense to me. Some NFTs I think are just complete cash grabs. Others, for example, practical uses, land deeds, tokenization of ownership, buildings, property, stuff like that, gets rid of a lot of the middlemen, right? Imagine instead of signing a prenup, you have a smart contract, and well, now we don't need to get the lawyer involved, right? Because it's all there. So I wanted you guys to kind of drop some knowledge on everyone here for the NFT space. You guys are into it right now, and you have real use cases for what you do, not trying to, shill or anything like that, but let us know what's up with that, man.
Yeah, dude, I think, about the NFT space, we were very skeptical about NFTs when it first came out, or when the big frenzy came out. I was like, dude, what's up with all these JPEGs? Like, why are they going for so much money? Cash
It
grabs,
seemed
right?
it seemed like it was basically just money laundering. Like that's
Yeah.
what I thought. I thought
Yeah.
NFTs. But come on, you're paying
Dude.
$8 million for a picture of a monkey like that. No, to me, I was just like someone's laundering. That's what
Yeah,
I thought. But
exactly right.
then it
There's a
actually.
lot of that. There's a
But
lot
then
of
it
that in
did
the
evolve,
traditional.
right, into
Yep.
something bigger. So
Exactly. There's a lot of that in the traditional art system, right? That easily transferable now into creating your own art collections. So we were very skeptical at first, but we started doing research, right? We kept looking at them, and then we started seeing some NFTs coming out with real utility, right? We started seeing Gary V, what he was talking about. We're like, okay, how does this actually go into practice, right? How can you actually implement some of these practices of real utility into an NFT collection? And once we started merging those two ideas of like, okay, digital art, collectibles, real life utility. Okay, now we have something. Now we have something sustainable that can go forward and not be a cash grab, and actually be something productive for not just the holders, but just for the space of Web3 and crypto in general. So that's when the phone calls between Keeper and I, we're always talking about prepper stuff, and we're talking about, hey, you saw what happened in the news over there in this country or that country, all these macroeconomic and geopolitical things happening, and we're like, we're always talking about this. We don't talk about it on the show because the show's about crypto. But what if, we start merging this idea with the NFT space and start having some real life utility where people that are in the NFT space and people that are in the prepper space can come together and through this collection actually get resources, actually get education, actually get experiences that will help them on their journey to be a better prepper and to just be prepared for their families. And that's where the idea was born.
So how does it actually work though? Like the NFTs and how are they utilized with what you guys are doing?
Yeah, so that's what the vest we have on there. The Danger Close Alpha is what the project's called. It's dangerclosealpha.com if you guys want to check it out. But ultimately, we decided, hey, we want people to be able to extract value from our NFTs, not by just hustling, not by just buying and selling and flipping, right? We wanted to actually bring people into an ecosystem, create a community, because what's a prepper? What's a bunch of preppers together? They're a community. They trust each other. They talk to each other. They communicate. So we were like, hey, we could create that via a Discord. We could have some dope art. So we hired an artist. He works for DC Comics. Shout out to Canyon. He's done some great work for us. Actually, you can see a little bit of his work behind Crusader right now. And effectively, we took the idea from George Orwell's 1984 and we put it 100 years later in 2084. We have this whole story surrounding it, but effectively, we started off with gas masks. Those were a free mint. They were meant to be used kind of as cash within our ecosystem to barter and trade with whatnot. That was a free mint. Then we did bug out bags, and our bug out bags are for a 3-day prepper event. There's over 130 in real life classes. The first 212 are in real life in Ohio. That's May 12th through the 14th. Those are sold out. And then the last 288, which are sold as well, but those are virtual access to that event. And we were like, you know what? We want people to actually get involved. We want people to actually learn. We want them to actually go to events. And we want them to say, hey, you know what? I bought this NFT. I got involved with this. I got a great community. I learned something that's going to help me and my family possibly survive a really bad situation. I know it sounds extreme, but the reality is most people have no game plan, K-Dub. They have no idea. If something went wrong, they're like this. And then
you know what I would say when your toilet's overflowing, is that the time to go out and buy the plunger? You know what I mean? No, you're supposed to have the plunger ready for when if you don't, you know what I'm trying. So it's one of those things where we hope it doesn't happen. We don't want it to happen, right? Yeah. But like any black swan, and I'm in the same camp as you, maybe not as aggressive, but I'm the same way when it comes to, I have different sources for even just my house, like generators, I have extra food. I mean, toilet paper, we all got our toilet paper, we had to get that back in 2020, still got a box of it downstairs. So that's something that we really have to pay attention to. And what I do like about what you guys are doing is, for example, if you look at one of the ones that really took off, the Bored Ape Yacht Club, that was sort of one of the ones that really took off, and people still, they're like, I don't understand why these have value. It's like, well, no, because these are basically like tickets to a club, and you can go literally on these yacht parties. So it's not just a collectible card. Now it has utility. And you're saying you guys have the same thing. You can actually use this in the community for meetups, for, all different types. You can even swap it back and forth, use it as a internal currency if you want, whatever. So that's really cool. And I think that it's those types of projects that have more longevity than just like, here's 7 variations of something. And,
for sure. And the way we keep it sustainable and the way the project is working to like fully answer the question of how it all works is we've actually partnered up with these prepper companies, right? We've partnered up with PrepperNet, one of the biggest prepping companies in the entire nation. They have like over 100 meetings every month nationwide. We've partnered up with the company that's doing the actual real life event, and through that, all these connections have opened up more doors to other companies, and that's how we bring the utility, right, to the NFT project, is by actual partnerships with companies that want to get involved in the web space, the Web3 space, and at the same time, bring something to the community, and the community can use that. So that's how all the utility actually works.
Awesome. So I guess before we kind of get going here, I wanted you guys to sort of wrap up the big picture for everyone right now. So I mean, I do TA. Everybody knows what I do on the channel, so I'm going to sit back. I want to know, what do you guys think? Just a macro view. Is this the dollar collapse right now? Is this the end of it? Or maybe they're going to get one more pump out of it? Because I'll tell you my opinion. I think that I think they're going to try to remain hawkish. I think they're going to do that. I think because they, historically speaking, like, let me just set this question up quick. I know I'm rambling, but you were talking about all the cash on the sideline, right? So this is like the first time that, the internet is so fast paced. Everyone's getting news. We're on to them now. We know, we've looked at we have the historical charts. We have the evidence. We have all of this data. And, historically speaking, we know what comes next. And like you said, you're seeing a lot of people sitting on that cash right now. So it's an awkward kind of moment where we're not really getting blindsided, if there was to be a recession, you know what I mean? And we're kind of expecting it. So does that make it different? Does that mean that, this price could have more legs to go? And maybe people are waking up and saying, hey, we're not going to, listen to the Fed, screw the Fed. Yeah, raise the rates, whatever. We'll put our money where our mouth is. What do you guys think is the ultimate outcome of, these next couple of years?
Go ahead, Crusader.
Yeah, I'll take it. So basically what I think in the next couple of years, obviously, 100% believe in the 4-year cycle, right? In Bitcoin. I know it's going to come back, whether it's 2025, right? The next Bitcoin halving, it's going to fire everything off. I have no doubt that Bitcoin will hit new all-time highs at some point down the line. So always bullish on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Are we is the bear market over? Are we in the bull market now? No, I don't think so. If you look at the bear market, we have rallies, right? We did that before when we went from like 7,000 or 3,000 all the way to 14,000, and we came back down as well. Right? We've had these rallies before, and then eventually we came back into the bull market. So I think this rally, it has been aggressive, like you mentioned earlier, and I don't think it's sustainable long term. But things are weird macroeconomically, right? Like you were saying, people are expecting a recession. People have been talking about this. It's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy where like now it starts getting baked into the markets where everybody is so held back that at some point they're going to say, well, nothing's really happening. I think I'm going to start taking some more risk again and start putting some money back into the markets. So it is a little bit weird. It is a little bit different, but I don't think this rally is sustainable long term. I think we are going to come back down. Are we going to hit new all-time lows? I don't think so. I think those all-time lows are kind of already in, because what else could possibly happen, right? We've seen all the collapses of exchanges. We've seen all the contagion, all the drama that's happened between these big, massive companies that brought us down. And every time one happened after the other, the drop was smaller, and the drop was smaller and smaller. So
and now that they got Bits Lotto, I mean, obviously,
yeah, that's it. It's over now. So that's it. They saved it. They saved the space now.
That's a good point, though, and that is something I noticed too. It's almost the you're getting used to it. You're right. Like we had the Terra Luna, and that was a crazy crash, right? Yep. And then the Celsius Voyager, we had a little one, and then FTX you would think would be a bigger impact. I mean, I know people personally, which I'm not going to, out them, who had a lot of funds on FTX. And a lot of people really lost a lot of money, and the amount of confidence that it, shook out of the space, and considering the drop was less than the Terra Luna, yep. Like I said, are people waking up? Are they realizing, the power of Bitcoin and we want to opt out of that system. Like you said, the traditional system is guaranteed to wreck you. I mean, you put something away for 5% for a CD, but you got inflation, at 6-7%. So you're still not ahead. You're not making money. You're just losing it less fast, I guess.
Slower.
Yeah, like
a little bit slower. Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, for me, this is probably going to sound like a boring answer, but it's worked for me over time. There's a reason that I dollar cost average. It's because I feel like all the time, Bitcoin and crypto surprises me. In the 5, almost 6 years I've been in, It seems like things happen and they surprise me. It's part of the reason why I don't trade a lot. A, because I can, I just get emotional when I trade, which is absolutely not what you're supposed to do, right? And B, it just seems like every time I think I know what's going to happen, I don't. So for me, dollar cost averaging into hard assets such as Bitcoin has been just an absolute winner over time. I do Bitcoin and Ethereum heavy, and it's just been a winning formula for me. I am diversified as well. That's part of the prepper mentality in me, for one. And then for two, I don't trust our government enough to just say, hey, they're not just going to put a full-on kibosh on a number of different. So I like to have some diversification. I am way heavy crypto. So if the crypto markets for some crazy reason, some way, absolutely somehow went kaput, it would suck for me and my family. However, I've got diversification as well. So for me, it's like, hey, long-term, I know where we're headed, up and to the right. Can I pay all my bills right now and continue to stack? Yes, I can. That's what I'm going to do. And that's what I'm doing.
And that's what I've done. And that's what I suggest. Everybody says, should I buy now? The amount of people that have now been coming out and say, should I buy now? Yeah. Nobody wanted to touch it when it was 15, 16. That should I buy now?
Like that. It's always
and it's like, look, do you have any exposure? Are you exposed at all?
Yeah.
You have none? Okay, well then not financial advice. Yes, start buying now.
Sure. Yeah.
But if you have none, I mean, how could you're not even exposed. If you are exposed, okay, maybe wait for a little pullback. I mean, I do think we're going to retest the CME futures gap at some point.
When did you get in? How much, how much exposure do you actually have? What's that look like? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Man. So dollar cost averaging is the way to go. I don't believe anything when they say it's going to die, go to Bitcoin obituaries. It's died 420 whatever times. I do believe that it will continue up and to the right. And I think we will continue to see, countries waking up to it like El Salvador. We will continue to see regulation, even though I don't think it needs regulation. I don't think it needs it. But, if you want the price to go up, the price, you're not going to get these big sovereign wealth funds and these big guys. They're not going to come in if they don't know how to play by the rules, So that's, it's a double-edged sword. We don't need it, but, it will help the price. Like I said, protocol works fine. So yeah, man, thank you guys so much for coming on the channel. I love watching your stuff. Hopefully for everybody out there watching, I know this was a little bit different content today, but just to kind of look at the macro, the broader space, if you want a different perspective on crypto, I highly recommend you guys check out Debate Crypto. I'm sometimes a guest on the channel. I enjoy going on for TA Thursdays and chats. So again, guys, links in the description, check them out. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on the channel.
Dude, thanks for having us on. We appreciate you, man, for sure.
100%.
Absolutely. So I hope you guys enjoyed that content. It is something a little bit different for the channel, but it is a little bit refreshing to get a different perspective, right? We will be talking about what is going on, of course, in the charts with the TA. Make sure that you get subscribed because I do think it's going to be a very critical week for Bitcoin. But that being said, guys, thanks again so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I make these videos. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.